August 27, 2025. President Erdogan unveils Turkey's steel dome. 47 systems were delivered. $460 million was just the first delivery. 3 months later, a $6.5 billion contract followed. Full deployment is planned by 2031. The backstory. In 2017, Turkey bought Russia's S-400. In 2020, the US expelled Turkey from the F-35 program, and sanctions followed. Turkey's response was simple: build its own. An AI-backed layered network with coverage from 4 kilometers to 200 kilometers. Qatar is interested. Azerbaijan is in. Pakistan is watching. For 2 decades, Turkey begged for Patriot systems. Today, they are the seller. On August 27, 2025, Turkish defense planners stood before a map that stretched from Edirne to Van 47. New air defense systems, 1 Cyper battery, 3 Hisar batteries, plus Korkut guns, radars, and electronic warfare units were officially transferred to the Turkish armed forces. The price tag for this first delivery reached $460 million, but this was only the opening move. By November 26, 2025, Ankara had signed a $6.5 billion contract for full-scale deployment. The goal is a seamless, layered shield covering 780,000 square kilometers, from the Black Sea coast to the southern borders, all managed by the AI-enabled Hakim command and control network. The program's scope is unprecedented in Turkish defense history. 47 systems in the initial batch represent the foundation for a national steel dome, integrating short-range Korkut anti-drone guns, medium-range Hisar interceptors, and long-range Cyper missiles, each designed, built, and fielded with zero foreign dependency. The contract commits to full operational coverage by 2031, with new deliveries scheduled every year. This is not just a procurement cycle, it is an industrial mobilization. The Oğulbey technology base near Ankara, a $1.5 billion 585,000 square meter hub, will scale production to meet both domestic and export orders. For the first time, Turkey's airspace is set to be protected by a wholly indigenous system. No imported batteries, no foreign vetoes, no outside maintenance contracts. Defense officials have called this the end of dependency and the start of a new era. The numbers are clear: $460 million delivered, $6.5 billion contracted, 47 systems fielded, 780,000 square kilometers to defend, and a timeline to 2031. The ambition is unmistakable: strategic autonomy on a national scale. Formal requests for Patriot missile batteries began in late 2012 as Turkish officials faced mounting threats from across the Syrian border. NATO allies responded with temporary deployments. 2 U.S. batteries and 400 troops arrived in Gaziantep in January 2013, while Germany and the Netherlands sent their own units to Kahramanmaraş and Adana. These batteries operated under NATO command, were strictly limited to defensive roles, and came with no promise of technology transfer or permanent sale. By early 2015, the Netherlands withdrew, citing maintenance burdens and personnel shortages. That August 2015, Germany announced its own exit, linking the decision to a shift in perceived threats toward ISIS. The United States followed in October, recalling its Patriot batteries for critical modernization upgrades. Each withdrawal left Turkish officials with little recourse and no path to permanent acquisition. Repeated attempts to secure a permanent Patriot deal ran aground on United States export controls and Turkey's insistence on full technology transfer. Washington refused, pointing to alliance security and intellectual property concerns. By 2017, with no long-term solution in sight, Ankara signed a $2.5 billion contract for Russia's S-400 system. The deal included offset provisions for local maintenance and limited co-production, but the system's incompatibility with NATO networks stoked immediate controversy. The United States responded in 2019 by suspending Turkey from the F-35 program, ultimately expelling Ankara in November 2020. Turkey's sunk investment in the F-35, nearly $1.4 billion, was lost, and the United States imposed CAATSA sanctions on leading Turkish defense firms, cutting off access to American components and technology licenses. These setbacks forced a reckoning inside Ankara's defense establishment. Reliance on foreign suppliers had produced only temporary solutions, while the S-400 purchase triggered costly penalties and deepened Turkey's isolation from key NATO programs. The result was a new imperative: build an indigenous air defense architecture on Turkish terms, with no external vetoes and no imported dependencies. Layered defense defines the steel dome's architecture, with each ring designed to counter a specific class of threat. The innermost shield starts with core-cut, a tracked 35mm cannon system providing point defense out to 4 kilometers, ideal for swatting drones, low-flying missiles, and precision-guided munitions. Roketsan's teams then field the Sungur missile, a mobile platform extending coverage to 8 kilometers, and the new Gürze system, which bridges the gap to 25 kilometers with rapid-fire interceptors tailored for swarming UAVs and cruise missiles. The next tier is Hisar. Hisar A+ covers up to 15 kilometers, while Hisar O+ reaches 40 kilometers, both using hit-to-kill guidance and designed for maneuvering aircraft and short-range ballistic threats. Each Hisar battery includes 4 launchers, 12 missiles, and a dedicated radar, with a projected cost of about $120 million per unit. These medium-range interceptors form the backbone of area defense for bases, cities, and critical infrastructure. At the outer edge, Cyper Block 1 batteries push engagement ranges to 100 kilometers. Block 2 and Block 3, now in development, target 150 and 200 kilometers, aiming to intercept high-altitude, fast-moving ballistic missiles. The cost per Cyper Block 1 missile is roughly $1.8 million, rising to $2.5 million for the advanced variants. Roketsan's engineers are already testing seeker heads for the hypersonic layer, slated to enter service after 2028. For now, the full 4 to 200 kilometer envelope remains untested in combat, but live-fire trials have validated the integration of these layers. Each ring is fused through a unified command network, setting the stage for a seamless national defense grid. Hakim sits at the center of Turkey's integrated air defense network, acting as the digital brain that fuses every layer into a single, coherent shield. The system draws real-time data from a catalog of national radars, ERALP for long-range surveillance, MAR and Kalkan for mobile tracking, AKR for fire control, and the new ALP series for ground-based airspace monitoring. Electronic warfare suites like PUHU and Coral feed jamming and spoofing data directly into the Hakim architecture, allowing the network to adapt to evolving threats in seconds. At its core, Hakim's AI-driven threat prioritization engine sorts incoming targets by speed, altitude, and projected impact, then allocates interceptors from Korkut, Hisar, or Cyper batteries as needed. This decision loop runs autonomously, with human operators retaining override authority but rarely intervening. The backbone is T-Link, Turkey's encrypted military satellite network, which moves fused sensor data and command instructions across the entire 780,000 square kilometer battle space. While T-Link supports NATO-compatible waveforms, it lacks a native Link 16 TDMA schedule. Instead, gateway nodes at Joint Command Centers translate T-Link packets for NATO's Link 16 network. This is a workaround that introduces a latency of up to 1.2 seconds during peak traffic, according to Alliance technical assessments. Kasif, Turkey's regional global navigation satellite system, became fully operational in early 2025, providing centimeter-level positioning and anti-jamming resilience for missile guidance and command posts. Aselsan's command and control architects describe Hakim as a plug-and-play platform, able to integrate new sensors or effectors with minimal downtime, an advantage over legacy NATO architectures that require months of validation. Yet, as a NATO expert notes, full interoperability remains a work in progress. Until dual-mode transceivers are fielded in 2026, Turkish and allied forces will rely on gateway translation, accepting some delay in coalition operations. For now, Hakim delivers an autonomous, AI-enabled command suite, one designed for strategic independence, but still negotiating the demands of alliance warfare. Oğulbey technology base rises on the outskirts of Ankara as the core of Turkey's new defense manufacturing push. Spanning 585,000 square meters and representing a $1.5 billion investment, the facility brings together the production lines of Aselsan, Roketsan, TÜBİTAK Sage, and MKE under one roof. Construction began in late 2023, with the first major production halls scheduled for completion by the end of 2025 and full-scale output set for 2027. At peak, more than 3,200 engineers and technicians will staff the site, assembling radars, missile batteries, and command systems for both domestic deployment and export. Backed by $616 million in government incentives, Oğulbey stands as the largest air defense manufacturing complex in Europe, surpassing even Germany's Rheinmetall and France's Thales in floor space. By 2026, Turkish defense exports are projected to surpass $10 billion, a milestone driven in part by the capacity unlocked here. Total program costs now approach $8 to $9 billion through 2031, a figure that includes $1.92 billion in add-ons for advanced Cyper variants, Hakim upgrades, and export offsets. Each Hisar-O Plus battery runs about $120 million, while a single Cyper Block 1 missile costs $1.8 million, rising to $2.5 million for future blocks. Radars and command posts add further expense, with a GERS 3D radar priced at $45 million and each Hakim C2 node at $30 million. Budget constraints mean blanket coverage across all 780,000 square kilometers remains out of reach before the 2030s. Instead, defense planners prioritize critical sites: Ankara, Istanbul, nuclear plants, and major air bases. Affordability depends on scaling domestic production and increasingly on export sales to recoup costs and sustain technological momentum. Foreign procurement delegations began flying into Ankara with a different agenda. In February 2024, Qatar signed a memorandum of understanding for 4 complete steel dome batteries, including Hisar-O plus launchers, Cyper missiles, and the Hakim command suite. The $1.2 billion contract required BMC to set up a local assembly line in Doha, with Barzan Holdings acquiring a 49.9% stake in BMC and committing $200 million to local investment. Azerbaijan's defense ministry entered talks for joint production of the GERS radar and Sungur systems, seeking a 15% technology transfer. Pakistan's procurement office requested a turnkey core-cut package with full training and lifecycle support. Turkey's pitch was clear: no political strings, real tech transfer, and a path to regional self-sufficiency. Today, Turkey's $6.5 billion contract and $10 billion in defense exports signal a lasting shift. A nation once sidelined now engineers, fields, and sells its own air defense network. For 20 years, Turkey asked. For 5 years, they built. Now they sell. That is strategic autonomy.